Hello, anybody, and thanks for tuning in to Monday Morning Handicapping. It is Belmont Stakes week, and before I come out with the video giving everyone my pick selection and rationale, I just want to introduce an idea that I've been mulling over. As many of you racing fans may know, Golden Gate Fields is set to close permanently in 1 week's time from this recording, which is June 9th, 2024. They will close permanently. So I wanted to come out with a video kind of going through the steps over the last 5 or so years of my experience at the track and dealing with their public relations and really just going through the timeline of events for the past 5 years, and as a fan, what things meant to me, how I interpreted them, maybe how others could see it coming, and maybe you could step in years ahead of time before your local track that you enjoy so much closes down. I've been going there since I was a very young kid with my parents, and started going back to the track when I was in my early 20s, when I started visiting friends that were going to college in the area. So it's a little bit sad for me. I'd love to see that track keep running. I don't know if anyone can take it over at this point. We're so close to the end. But it's a great piece of property, great venue. The racing is, I guess, middle of the road. Not the worst, not the best in the country, but a really, really awesome venue, and I really enjoyed going there. This video in particular is just going to preview a series of videos, kind of like I did with the How to Read a Racing Form series. I'm just going to introduce some of the topics that I will go further into, just so I can educate myself, but anyone that's interested in the Golden Gate closure, sort of how things unfolded and what the public was told. I'm going to cover some of the topics that I will be covering in a series of videos, so let's jump right in. So to me, the ball started to really unravel when COVID shut down the racetrack, and I don't intend on this getting political. Outdoor sporting events weren't allowed to reopen as quickly as some other places, especially horse racing, where you're not making contact with other bodies. In fact, that's a foul. So the first inkling that things weren't going well was when horse racing got shut down for COVID. Understandably so early, but they seemed a little trepidatious to let them resume running in any immediate fashion. Eventually, they did reopen, and then they shut back down again because many horsemen, which are trainers and grooms and people who deal with the horses on the backside, tested positive for COVID, so they shut it back down again, and then they resumed racing, and this is all without fans being allowed to attend, so pretty low-key. Everything's touch and go at this point, but they open, they shut, they open, they shut, based on the test results from them. So as you can see, this article is from April 2021, a year after the initial outbreak of COVID. More information has come out, and they finally reopened to fans. They did change the attendance policy. You could no longer just pay admission at the gate and get your hand stamped and walked in. You had to buy tickets ahead of time. And they limited attendance, which I don't think has been an issue at Golden Gate Fields for quite some time. But still, the policies and procedures were a little more stringent, a little more strict. But I'm sure a lot of fans were happy to go back at this point. And in March, so just before the reopening to fans, there was a protest shutdown at Golden Gate Fields. Some animal rights activists stormed the track rather, and shut down racing, delayed it. On-track security couldn't arrest them at the time. They had to wait. This is where Golden Gate started seeing some external pressures laid on. There were these on-site activists. There's always people outside of the track protesting. This was kind of an indicator that they were losing favor, at least in this particular area, which is the Bay Area of California. Also around this time, there was an ordinance at the Berkeley City Council, I believe, to pretty much outlaw stabling horses in the city limits. And Golden Gate straddles Berkeley and a city called Albany, but the ordinance was specifically designed to shut down Golden Gate. A year after COVID, right when they reopened to fans, they were starting to see an increase in external political pressure, I would call it, making them feel maybe not so welcome anymore. So racing resumes pretty mildly, and attendance never quite picks up. I had sent them some emails wondering if they were going to bring back some of their great promotional days. Dollar days on Sundays were great, really drew the college crowd out. Hispanic Heritage Day was the most busy I've ever seen Golden Gate Field. It was tremendous. It was shoulder to shoulder down on the floor. It was something to see. I'd never seen anything like it at Golden Gate. I was just wondering if they were going to have any more promotional days to draw a crowd, and I never got a response back from Golden Gate. I only emailed them through their website. I don't know how direct that is to anyone who can answer that question, but I sent them several. I was very eager to get back, feel like things were normal again after COVID and the shutdown and all this, and I just never got word back, and I never saw them promote anything, so I was starting to get a little worried. And then this announcement came in around, I guess, mid 2023, that Golden Gate Fields was going to be shut down and that the owners were going to send most of the Golden Gate horses down to their other track, Santa Anita in Southern California, to boost field sizes. At first thought, I did not think this plan was feasible. I did not think the horses could compete at that level. Maybe the top 10, 20% could. I'll dig into the details and speculate further as my series on this topic continues. Apparently, this announcement kind of caught the horsemen off guard. They had little time to prepare, to move their horses, to move their livelihood, really, figure out what they were going to do. So I think this headline says it all for the horsemen, for the people expecting to run at Golden Gate, and they were caught off guard, to say the least. After it was made evident that the horsemen were caught off guard, Golden Gate did pledge to race 6 more months. So instead of closing in December 2023, they agreed to extend the racing till June 2024, which is, well, going to be a week from today, June 9th, and they will be shutting down for good. The added 6 months may have hurt Golden Gate and the Stronach Group, their owners, because in that time, some folks from Sacramento, California offered to take over the race dates for Golden Gate in a town called Pleasanton, California, which is, I'm not too familiar, but about an hour inland from Berkeley. It is where the fair circuits take place during the summer. So some of these horses and horsemen are used to taking their horses there for a few weeks out of the summer. They follow the fair circuit, which travels around the state. But they threw their hat in the ring and it was actually Sacramento and Pleasanton were both viable options at this point. But they threw their hat in the ring to say, we'd love to have racing in our areas. No need to send everyone down south. Let's keep 2 main circuits of racing in California. And they got some pushback from the Stronach Group, who owns Golden Gate and Santa Anita. So they were battling over where those horses were going to go, where they could race, if there's going to be a second circuit in Northern California. So yet to be determined at this point. And after a contentious meeting at the California Horse Racing Board, they did agree to let Pleasanton try it. This fall winter, they're going to get, I think, a 9-week race meet after the fairs end. They're going to let thoroughbred racing continue at Pleasanton, see how it goes, and we will see if they are allotted 2025 dates. Pleasanton has the stalls ready and a dirt track, no turf course, but it does have a dirt track, which could accommodate I think all the runners that are stabled at Golden Gate and would not have to compete with higher talented horses at Santa Anita. So it seemed worthwhile to me. In my personal opinion, I think it's fantastic. I think the fair circuits try to draw a crowd, and I think it's very much a grassroots sort of marketing campaign or approach to racing. A lot of families are out there. They provide a lot of fun things to do, contests, drawings and whatnot. Pleasanton was allowed to take over for Golden Gate Field, essentially, different ownership group. So I think this upset the Stronach Group overall. I personally don't think that enough horses from Golden Gate could cut it on a new surface against higher talented horses overall. So as a fan, I think it's great. Yeah, that's just generally my take on it for now. I will get into it further in my series of videos. And ever since then, Golden Gate has really seemed to just not try. They have not had any promotional days. They've been canceling racing days due to lack of entries. I don't know if people are resting their horses and giving up on Golden Gate because Golden Gate seems to have given up on them. That kind of is my opinion at this point. I hope to get into it further with the series as I dig deeper into news articles. But this is generally and an overall view of the timeline of events that has caused Golden Gate to close from starting from the beginning of COVID up until 2024, so about a 4-year period. I know there's economic and financial reasons why Golden Gate may have been closing, but since COVID, Golden Gate has not really shown much of an effort. And um, yeah, if this topic interests you, I'm coming out with this series, kind of like my how to read a racing form. I'm going to go through certain time periods, break down the news articles that were released at that time, um, dissect what people said, how they were feeling, look at the press releases, and then tell you as a casual fan what my take and opinion is on those comments or press releases. I hope anyone that is watching this sticks around, looks forward to those. I will come out with handicapping videos in the meantime. Belmont Stakes, like I said, is coming up, so I'll come up with handicapping videos. This is just something I'm going to be doing on the side with Golden Gate's closure imminent. I hope to draw some attention to Golden Gate, maybe keep it alive. I would rather Golden Gate stay alive than everyone go to the fair circuit. I'd love to have both. Wishful thinking, but I want to run through the series of events, so anyone who feels like their local track may be on the decline can step in now and write to whoever you have to, send letters to whoever you have to, advocate for people to show up to the races, have a good time. But yeah, that's a general overview, and I will be coming out with more videos digging deeper. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.